Back to that developing situation where 7 officers were shot last night on the north side.
KENS 5 Sarah Duran's live on the scene this morning. Sarah, what's going on out there now?
Barry, so we moved inside of the apartment complex and I want to show you a busted window we came across. According to a detective here on the scene, that window belongs to the suspect's apartment on the first floor. We are told the suspect's body is still actually inside his apartment. However, police cannot retrieve the body until the tear gas they used to enter the unit has cleared out. So right now, this scene is still SAPD's scene. It's not the ME scene quite yet. That detective tells me they entered the front door of the unit but knocked out that window as part of their breaching technique. So this is all new information as we're coming to you live here at 6. Overnight, we also were able to get some details that we have been sharing with you throughout the morning. We now know that suspect, a man in his 40s, is dead and a total of 7 officers are in the hospital at this time. Chief William McManus gave the update overnight on social media by himself without any reporters present, so we were not able to ask him any additional questions ourselves. What we really want to know right now is the conditions of the officers involved in this. We know 4 of them have non-life threatening injuries, but we are not able to confirm the conditions of the 3 others. We asked the detective, but he would not tell us. Now, after 8:30 last night, this all started here at the Sonterra Heights Apartments. Police responded for a suicide in progress after a family member of the suspect called it in. We are told the first officer on scene was shot, and then 3 others who arrived afterward were struck by gunfire. Barry, Audrey, what's unclear right now is when the 3 additional officers were shot.
SWAT arrived on the scene. The suspect barricaded himself inside the apartment for several hours. At the end of the event, the suspect was found to be deceased.
McManus says it's unclear right now if the suspect was killed by SWAT officers here or self-inflicted with his own gun. McManus also added that the suspect recently was arrested on January 18th for assault and DWI, but that the man was out on bond. Again, we just have very limited information to work with this morning as far as the officers and their conditions. The only thing that the chief told us is that these officers range in experience with the department anywhere from 4 to 8 years. And again, before I let you go, I just want to talk again about that window on the first floor. There was a lot of gunfire exchanged here last night, and these buildings are very close together, so I can only imagine what neighbors went through last night. So I want to bring in my colleague Earl Stoudemire now with their reaction to all of this. Earl.
Well, Sarah, it's quiet right now, but just a few hours ago, it was a completely different story. Just take a look at this fence right behind me. We can't confirm anything right now, but possibly SAPD and SWAT, they broke this fence. We have a column in the distance. It is knocked out of the ground, this fence. It's bent out of shape, just trying to take control of this situation where 7 police officers were hit in the standoff. Now, we have some sound from neighbors, and they actually recorded the process of when police moved in. You're able to hear those rounds being fired in the video given to us by a resident last night. And some residents were evacuated as the standoff began, but some had to shelter in place. Earlier this morning, I spoke with Elena Uzani, who lives in the building next to the standoff. She was inside her apartment and said she stayed away from exterior walls as shots were fired.
It was just pop, 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 pop. And I mean, and when it hit the building, it just shook. There was a lot.
She says the gunfire lasted for hours until she finally heard it all come to an end around 1:45 this morning. Now, another resident we spoke with says they saw one of the injured officers getting a tourniquet put on him before being taken to the hospital. Now, like Sarah mentioned, officers are still on the ground trying to collect evidence in this entire situation. And I actually see a few neighbors just kind of out and about as they're getting their groceries because it's an early start to the morning. So I'm going to go ahead and try and chat with them and try and get their experience on this entire ordeal. But I'll go ahead and turn it back to the studio.